Hi, Jaime. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. It's
Hi.
hi. It's from TAF.
Hi. Okay, so just as a small bit of house rules, anyone who's actually not a speaker, could you all just turn off your mics and your videos, and we will just allow the people who are actually panelists to speak, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Hi, Dale. How are you? Perfect. I think we're just waiting for Thomas, and then we're ready to go.
I'm lurking. Want to say hi.
Hi.
Best of luck, everyone. Looking forward to the conversation.
Jimmy, you're very low.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear almost everyone now. 1 minute. I'm just waiting for Thomas, and then I think we're all good once we get Thomas on.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, I just can't see your screen, but that's okay. We can power through.
I'm failing to start video for some reason.
I'm going to pop on mute now. And as I said, looking forward to the conversation, guys.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll just start on then. Okay, so welcome to the 5th installment of the Marco Academy webinar series. And the topic we will be discussing today is why coffee businesses are choosing concentrate. My name is Emer, and I am the Marketing, Digital and Events Executive here at Marco, and I am joined by my lovely guests, who are Dale Harris, who is involved in new product development of OZONE coffee roasters. Then we have Dale Blackwall, who is the Global Head of Coffee at Finlays, and then we have Jaime Vanschyndel, who is the founder of Barismo. So guys, if you just want to introduce yourselves a little bit more. Dale, why don't you start?
Cool. Well, thank you for having me, and it's great to be a part of this. So I work for OZONE Coffee Roasters. We're primarily wholesale coffee being supplied to lots of hospitality businesses. We have restaurants in the UK and in New Zealand where we began. And we wholesale all across the UK and Europe and New Zealand. And I look after new product development. So I've worked on products like our pods, our cold brew concentrate, and other releases like that.
Okay, perfect. Thomas, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, hi. Apologies, I don't seem to be able to get my video working today. But yeah, so my name's Thomas Blackwall. I'm Global Head of Coffee at Finlays. So our business is a multi-site roaster and coffee manufacturer here in the UK where I'm sitting today, but we also have sites in the US and also a site in China where we manufacture coffee concentrate. So our business it's a purely white label manufacturer, so we don't have any brands.
Okay, perfect. And then finally, Jaime, if you want to go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jaime Vanschyndel. I'm the founder of Barismo Coffee. We're a small batch roastery in Greater Boston. We have cold brew in offices, and I'm really excited to have this conversation. Very thankful that Marco is bringing this to people and sort of have this, put more focus on this and let people get over the bias there is towards concentrate.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Okay, just before we jump into things, we'll be having a Q&A session towards the end. So if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments box above or below, and then we can get to as many as we can towards the end. Right. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to jump into it now with the first question. the journey so far, what has driven you towards concentrate coffee? Dale, if you'd like to start. Oh, you're on mute there.
I'm not anymore. But we get that out nice and early. So yeah, I think just like Jaime said, it's great to be talking about concentrate, but actually concentrate ended up being the solution to our problems that we had with cold brew generally. So like I said, we have a strong wholesale business, and we also have our own restaurants and retail sites. And actually we use those in the business as partly a presentation of what our coffee and what our business can do for our customers, but also as a test case for new ideas, a way of kind of demonstrating validity of products. And it helps us understand what our customers need as well. So we use it as a way, like if we're experiencing problems or challenges, most likely our customers who run very similar businesses are also facing those problems. And over the last 3-4 years, just cold brew, certainly within the UK and also in New Zealand, has just been this incredibly fast moving and fast growing product for us. So we started with one retail site that was, selling an awful lot of cappuccinos and lattes and a tiny bit of slow drip cold brew, in the warmest months. And year on year, that's just grown and escalated. And as it's grown and escalated, the problem of producing that product grew and escalated. So, it was no bother making a few liters of cold brew each day for one site. But when we moved to multiple sites, and when we were using maybe 30 liters of product every day and having to make 30 liters of product every evening, it was taking up more space than we ever thought we would need for it, more labor. And we were hitting a number of issues around quality control and consistency. So we knew that we had to outsource production somehow to solve those kind of quality control and consistency issues. And as we looked around at the market and looked around at our options and did a lot of different test cases with different equipment solutions or with different partners, all of them had obstacles tied to logistics. And in the end, when we found a partner that could produce a concentrate product, it removed this whole set of problems we were facing. And actually the product quality was higher as well. And it also became a much more scalable solution. So it was one that could not just solve the problem within our business, but help create a product for us and just remove all of the problems that we've been facing particularly from smaller wholesale clients that may have a great espresso bar, but don't have the facility to do hot filter, or could not do anything cold brew related, even though they had customers coming to them for it. And they were seeing their sales and obviously like the knock-on effect of the wholesale supply and the product we were selling them diminishing in the summer months. So it's really addressed this whole series of problems that we faced.
Okay, perfect. Jaime, if you want to fire ahead with yours.
Yeah, we had a sort of a similar to what Dale's describing. I mean, we started with doing cold brew out of a 10 by 10 room in our Cambridge location. And we had started getting into the tech corridor. We have all these wonderful tech companies with office amenities just a stone's throw from us in every direction. And as we started scaling that, we had a real issue with space. We have a 10 by 10 brew room and we're doing 50-gallon batches, but very quickly we had a fire brigade of kegs coming out of our space where we were doing hundreds of kegs a week. And really concentrate was our solution for that. It was storing in concentrates, then filling on demand. And that was the key to our growth and getting to solve those other issues of scale as we got larger, but getting to that 4-to-1 concentrate strength where we, with our brew method, really helped us take advantage of the cold brew trend as it came out. I mean, for us, once the pandemic hit, offices weren't really the demand. Cold brew wasn't as big a piece of our business, but we shifted at that point into using concentrate in our cafes to save a bunch of labor and efficiency. So right now we're selling, majority of our drinks are from concentrate. So cold brew, iced lattes, and hot draft, which is just a really nice thing to have. And I would say drinks that come from concentrate right now are a majority of our sales, and we're running so much less labor than we used to, and serving so much more product without all the extra labor that we just frankly can't provide right now. So
okay, great. And then Thomas.
Yeah, so I suppose Finlays, we're perhaps a little bit different to Jamie and Dale. We're a we're a coffee roaster, but also a manufacturing business. So we don't have any kind of coffee shops, so to speak, but we do have a long heritage in coffee. Last year we celebrated our 110 years in the coffee business. And we've also got a fairly long history in concentrates. And I suppose our kind of journey from roaster to producer of concentrates was primarily driven through our kind of hunger to innovate. We first started producing a sort of concentrated shelf-stable syrup back in the 1930s. That syrup is still produced today. It's known all over the state of Rhode Island, USA, as Autocrat coffee syrup. But then our business sort of first started experimenting with cold brew coffee concentrates back in the early 1990s, where we were pretty much making cold brew, again, like a lot of people when they start, in secondhand brewing equipment out the back late at night. But it kind of wasn't until we found a way to non-thermally concentrate our cold brews that we really realized the potential. And then our kind of phenomenal growth in the sort of global concentrate manufacturing market has really come from our customers and from them, sort of based on the need to have something that's really simple to operate, something that's consistent, and something that's a great quality product. I think, and then when you kind of look at our process, on a sort of industrial scale, everything's natural. There's no chemicals. We only use water. We concentrate both our hot and cold brews at atmospheric pressure, so we're not massively over extracting our coffee. And of course, with a concentrate, it's much easier to use. It's much easier to store. You've got the opportunity for loads more applications than kind of just ready to drink. And then when you kind of look at transporting it to multiple sites, it's far more sustainable. And of course, it tastes just as good. So it kind of really fits really well with a lot of our customers. I think then our kind of, our long-standing expertise, our sort of focus on sustainability, direct sourcing, our speed to kind of scale up, and our ability to offer the market that consistently great tasting product that everyone's looking for, without the need for lots of brewing equipment and lots of mess. It made our cold brew business quickly become one of the leaders in the US. And from there, we started to produce cold brew concentrate in China. And then we're currently taking that winning formula and building a facility here in the UK. So for us, we've gone from coffee roaster to concentrate manufacturer, and we still see that market continuing to grow quite rapidly at the moment.
Yeah, it seems very exciting. Okay, so that brings us to our second question, which is, what are some of the challenges you have faced? So Jamie, if you'd like to kick off that one.
Yeah, so for us at Barismo, I think scaling had its challenges, going from 50-gallon batches to being able to produce 1,000-gallon batches. But I think our real struggle around concentrates was that we had a history of being a very hip, craft-focused cafe. So, single origin, single estates, direct trade, pour over bars, single origin espressos, and a lot of ritual around the brewing of coffee. So shifting people over to coffee from concentrates, and particularly the hot draft, getting people to try it, there was a lot of initial resistance that we faced. And I had One example is a customer who came to me and said, I thought with the pandemic and everything that was going on that you guys were cutting corners. But after drinking the drinks that used the concentrate for a little while, they realized that it was more consistent. There was higher quality. And that's something I also saw at the trade shows, is when we were showing this to people who were in the industry, they were saying, oh, if they tasted it blind next to something else, they loved it. But as soon as you would say, oh, it's from concentrate, there was an immediate, well, I don't know. So having the equipment that we have now and being able to run our bar with so little amount of storage, where one keg is effectively 5 kegs worth of product, and make so many products, and then having the fonts to dispense it, so people don't really have to ask those questions of what are you making. It's really been an overwhelmingly positive feedback at this point, but there was definitely a time where people were on edge, and there's so many products in the market via and other things that really kind of cloud what our product was. And the challenge was really just getting people to taste it consistently day after day and see that we had done the good what if experiment of what if it could be good, what would that look like, what would that taste like, and then hoping that people trust us enough to come and pay money to experience that.
Okay, great. Thomas, if you want to go next.
Yeah, thanks. So I think, if you look at the challenges a coffee concentrate manufacturer, whether big or small, faces, you can probably kind of split these down into 3 main categories. These being sort of manufacturing equipment, and for us that's equipment on a kind of large scale. The second being product, and probably the third being application. As I sort of said previously, our journey into extracts was driven through our innovation initiatives, and this kind of meant that a lot of the extraction processes, the concentration processes, the packing processes, and so on were our own design, and therefore, as far as kind of building a manufacturing facility was concerned, we really had to start from scratch, simply because there was no off-the-shelf equipment. But what that really did was give us our own IP, and all that effort has it's kind of been duly rewarded, because everything we've done along every step of the way has been with one major ethos, and that's that we don't compromise on quality, we don't compromise on the product. So I think there was a lot of work to be done, and a lot of work that we continue to do to ensure that the equipment that we install is going to be the best for the coffee that we're producing. I think kind of the second major hurdle that's often faced when manufacturing concentrates is the product. Now, we all know that coffee is a sensitive product. If you kind of think about it, it really doesn't like water, it doesn't like oxygen, it doesn't like heat, and it generally doesn't like being messed with. And we kind of all know from drinking coffee that when you extract your coffee, you pass water through it, the coffee tastes great for a while, but soon that flavor starts to drift, and really it kind of starts to deteriorate. So for us, finding that solution of flavor drifting and pH reduction over time really has been the key to making the product successful and making a great experience for our customers. But then finally for us, as our kind of cold brew concentrate business has grown, and the market has kind of evolved with it, our customers have they've seen kind of a real opportunity here, and this has resulted in us evolving from a pure coffee roaster and manufacturer to more of a, let's say, a solutions provider. We've got a big team of applications experts, both in the US and in the UK, who really help our customers innovate with coffee and look at designing products. I think if we kind of go back to the start and we go back to where we come from, we're really coffee people. We love coffee. we are, we have coffee running through our veins, but becoming a sort of world-class beverage solution provider has been a real steep, but a very exciting learning curve for us.
Yeah, great. And Dale.
So we've experienced elements of some of the challenges that Thomas and Jaime have faced, but our biggest challenge is we outsourced the production. We found a really good partner who'd gone through some of those things, and we made some refinements together and found a way of effectively translating roasted coffee through them. So product that matched our current specifications on our final cold brew product and translating it through the concentration process to get to a product we wanted. So we really benefited from a lot of the technical innovation that's happened over the last 5-6 years. And I think we really have a product that wasn't possible maybe 10 years ago. And now there are multiple sources of getting there. But then you face, in my line of work, the additional challenge of how do you sell it? How do you make this acceptable to your customers? How do you communicate it well? Our business is global, and we have different issues in the New Zealand market, the issues we have in the UK market, and God bless, the summers happen at slightly different times of the year, so that adds pros and cons to it. It does mean that we can learn and take insight from one market and apply it to the other, and then bring it back, and that learning is a little faster. The biggest challenge we faced was all around how do you serve that product, and how do you serve that product just like in the way that Jaime was talking about, in a way that's comfortable for the customer. So we trialed that in our retail sites first. The Pour D from Marco was a really key kind of stepping stone for us. So we saw it at Host a couple of years ago and was like, this will solve our problems. Can we get the timing to work together? So when our product's ready and the equipment's ready so that we can put something on bar. But then we also need to think about how we sell that ingredient and equipment solution as a combined product in a way that makes sense for our wholesale customers. Do we take insight from how we work with espresso? So in some markets, we look at, free on loan or equipment that goes in and gets paid for through product sales, or do we say you need to buy this plan and then we've got the only product that will serve it kind of thing? And there were lots of minor challenges along the way, and things as simple as the bag in boxes that we use, the tap fittings, the traditional tap fittings that are available where we're producing the product are not the ones that best suit the UK and the US markets. So trying to find the easiest way to bring all those together. In terms of actually reaching customers, we had less issues with our end consumers. So customers buying cold brew, the product speaks for itself. They were very quick to adopt and accept the product in the summer. And right now, it's summer in New Zealand, we're just struggling to maintain supply at the same speed that we're selling at. So that's great. For wholesale, the biggest challenge is how we communicate and sell this to existing wholesale customers who've used other solutions before, who've been brewing their own cold brew. But also, just like Jaime was saying, the assumptions they have about the product or what customers value. So, I mean, the best solution we found to that is to lead, is to do the work ourselves and demonstrate our success and see our customers want to be a part of that and to replicate it. I think one of the challenges we've been facing is there's so much noise in particularly the cold brew part of the market. Mm-hmm. So there's nitro, there's instant options that can be mixed with things, there's ready to drink in cans from your alternative milk supplier. And all of those are eating up some of the attention and really getting to the bottom of what do customers value, what do they want, what's the best way to approach that is, it's not even a problem we've solved. It's a problem we have a solution to at the moment that we feel comfortable with, but we have to constantly respond to what the rest of the market is doing and make sure that our narrative is cutting through.
Okay, perfect. And that brings us to our last question, which is the future of concentrate coffee. Where do you see it going? So Thomas, would you like to start that one?
Yeah, I think I think this is a great question, and it's really exciting for us as a business. You know, coffee concentrate, I think particularly cold brew, is a really fantastic vehicle for really going wild with the coffee factory, the coffee category. Sorry, the sort of stronger flavor, the less bitterness, that greater intensity. And of course, the ability to dilute multiple times is already being used kind of quite widely in the dairy and alcohol industry, especially over in the States. And for us, with our business in the US, we sell all types of concentrates, hot brews, cold brews, to bakeries, into barbecue sauces, into the mocktail market. But where we kind of see really huge potential is in the natural energy drink market. You know that healthy conscious, that healthy conscious sort of consumer demographic is continuing to grow. People are really starting to look at ingredient decks and ingredient labels, and they're kind of questioning why there's so much stuff in carbonated soft drinks. We see a huge trend towards great tasting, clean label beverages that have sort of sustainability at heart, that have a really good story, that can be trusted, and this kind of really lends itself into the coffee category. And I kind of also think that consumers are becoming more interested in the functional properties of natural beverages, and this is why, you know, we kind of think that natural energy drink market is one that could potentially take off. And so kind of maybe having an extract that might in the future sort of have higher concentrations of polyphenolic compounds, for example, could well be a future trend in coffee. It's fast becoming a trend in tea, and it could well become a trend in coffee. Then finally, I think one of the key benefits of a concentrate is the ability to make our customers' lives much easier. It makes the customer really much more agile, be able to offer many more products without affecting the consumer's experience. So I think working with companies to sort of help deliver that excellent, exciting, and dynamic consumer experience is kind of key to the future of this sector. So, you know, kind of think of a delivery system that, you know, can satisfy the worker on their commute during the day, but is then easily transferred into a cocktail bar at night. I think that's kind of the future.
Okay, perfect. And Dale, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think lots of the things that Thomas touched on there, we see value in for us. So our mission as a company is to change the way coffee is valued and grown, and reach as many people as possible as we can with better quality product that's sourced better. And cold brew and cold brew concentrate particularly lets us reach customers that we weren't able to access before. And that can be smaller wholesale clients that don't have the same volume needs as somewhere that would have an espresso machine, for example. And we have multiple products that do that, but this one does it in a really interesting way. It can be reaching new types of business that historically we haven't had products that are well suited for. So a really obvious one is FMCG. The roast and grind sector is pretty static and pretty boring and only suits a certain kind of customer. But using cold brew concentrate, we can move into RTD products. We can look at concentrate as a product that can sit on a shelf in supermarkets, that has a long shelf life, that has that quality control, and we can educate consumers about that. And that's kind of a novel, interesting way that we can make a beachhead to start working in businesses like that, which may introduce our coffee, or maybe it just introduces our brand to their audience and to their customers that begins to feed them into our coffee supply. It also travels really well. So we can look at other geographic markets. And these are all things that, particularly freshly roast, beautifully sourced coffee, is difficult to access. It also helps us have a deeper conversation about sustainability. You know, when we're roasting huge batches of coffee, there are efficiencies compared to doing lots of small batches. When we're getting long shelf lives, we can have incredibly low wastage. And when we can transport a product and know that it's going to last 6 months, we can really think about the sustainability impacts on that. You know, if the best way for my business to spread great coffee to the most people is to do it all in a liquid form, you know, if that uses less gas wastage, less fuel costs, all of these things, that's a really exciting prospect. And as we see lots of businesses moving straight to RTDs and, you know, bottled products, and just the amount of waste involved in transporting all the water that's contained in those products, if we can do it with concentrate, just the waste is so much less. And that's an interesting conversation for us to be a part of as a relatively small business that's growing and is really having to consider these things step by step as we go.
Okay, great stuff. And last but not least, Jaime.
Well, for the future, I think that the utility, obviously the storage of concentrate is something that's, if you haven't gotten to experience what it's like to send large amounts of cold brew to a co-packer for canning or for bag and box, and you don't have the ability to send them something in concentrate, I think that's one of those things that the application is very clearly beneficial. As far as the future, what gets me the most excited is the idea of running a bar with less equipment on it, serving more products. So having less of your space dedicated to refrigeration and additional devices, but being able to run like a micro kiosk with a super small footprint and have a lot of products come out of it. That's something that we're really working towards. And I think with concentrate, we're going to see all kinds of things. We'll see, as they said, energy drinks, and we'll see mixology, where people will merge the quality and the different formats, clever infusions, mixing nitro on one side, and then having different types of cold brew, and being able to focus on the origin and give people options without a huge dedication to space is going to be very exciting. And personally, I think it'd be great to get coffee into places that you would normally see Keurig or pods or things that, you know, people don't have a good perspective, you know, to say good coffee shouldn't be here. Well, if it's in concentrate form, you can offer coffee in offices and in small locations and have a consistent and good quality experience. So that's where we're pushing, is to see better coffee in places where traditionally there isn't. And of course, it's always good to see more and more packaged product coming out with different utilization of concentrate, but it will be the small boutique shops who come up with really creative ideas and get past the bias against concentrate to say, yeah, but what if it could be good? What would we do with it, and how would that look?
Okay, that was great. Okay, so that brings us to the Q&A section of our webinar. So let me just grab some questions to ask the guys. All right, let me see. I'll just stop sharing now and have a little look for the questions. Okay, so the first question is, are preservatives added to increase the shelf life of concentrates? Would either of you like to take that? Anyone here? Dale, would you like to?
Yeah, so our concentrate doesn't have any preservatives in. It'll depend on the packaging medium and your intentions in your market. Like I think Thomas said that a lot of customers are looking for smaller ingredient lists, and you know, when it's done well, cold brew and cold brew concentrate is a perfect product that it can be roasted coffee and water. But there can be additions, and you could aim for a different product mix. It'll depend on your package medium and pasteurization and stuff like that. And actually, we initially only had a 6-month shelf life. We've been able to extend that to 12 months, which makes a significant difference in the batch sizes we can do and the flexibility we have on the product.
Okay, perfect. I have another one here, a slightly longer one, so just bear with me. It says, to serve concentrate, you need to add an additional liquid to dilute to dilute to serve the customers predominantly. This cold brew coffee is water in large percentages. Has anyone looked at the quality of the water / filtration of the water required to allow the concentrate to be served at its best? So who'd like to take that one?
Yeah, I can quite happily take that one. I
Okay,
think,
perfect.
yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's an element to all part of coffee that a lot of people overlook. It's also an element that a lot of people really focus in on. I think when we manufacture concentrates, it's really important that we get our water right. It's really important that we get it consistent. Our business uses a special type of water. We've worked for a very long time to get that water right, and it really helps deliver the flavor, but also helps with the shelf life. Then when at the point of dispensing, it's again really key to make sure that the water that you use is right for A, the concentrate, and B, for your taste profile. I think probably the most important thing is to have consistent water. So water that's kind of not changing in hardness from 1 week, from 1 month to the next. But it's a great question and something that really needs to be considered.
Mm-hmm. Dale, I see your hands raised. Do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I think one of the interesting opportunities that are there with the product is often when we do research on water, we're looking at its extraction capability, what flavors it takes from a coffee with a different, profile of minerals. It may accentuate certain flavors from a coffee or mute other flavors. And so some let's say a chocolatey coffee might suit a different water profile to get those flavors out than a really light and floral coffee. When we're working with concentrate, someone may have refined that for the extraction process, and you may choose a different profile of water that you're only choosing for that final flavor profile. One of the interesting things I found right at the beginning of the journey when working with different kind of potential partners was there were people that made amazing cold brew, but through the concentration process, some quality was lost, and the product never quite matched. When I found a partner that was doing both really well, it was great. But I did find that when I diluted the product, I was getting a different flavor result than the one that they done with their, let's say, pre-concentration. And that was all tied to the water. And by switching the water up, I got a much crisper, cleaner, particularly on, let's say, the more interesting coffees we work with. So I found Kenyans with really bright and light water were phenomenal, just with the dilution water, not with what had been used for extraction. So there is an interesting kind of through the looking glass moment, or this opportunity that now we can deal with those problems separately and treat them as separate, let's say, modulators on flavor profile.
Okay, perfect. Thomas, I have a question here for yourself. What strength can you concentrate to, and what are the maximum and minimum batch volumes?
Yeah, so we typically, for our business, our maximum that we concentrate up to is 23 bricks, which is around about 19.5% TDS. What are our minimum batch sizes and our maximum batch sizes? So the way that we kind of work is that our minimum is usually we sell a lot of our products in 1,000-litre totes. So the minimum batch size is around about 900 litres. And then maximum, we generally, the way that our manufacturing facility is set up is we have extractors, and then they feed into a tank, and then they get blended in the tank. So our maximum batch size is really sort of sky's the limit, really.
Great. Okay. I have another question here. So it says, does it take a higher volume of dry coffee to make a stronger concentrate? And do you have to pass those costs onto your customer, or are they offset in other ways? So Jaime, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So I think that depends on your methodology. For us, we have some patents and trade secret and proprietary stuff that we focused on yield. Yield was really important to us in selling into the office coffee sector. So people are very price conscious and what they're giving away to their staff. So we had to come up with ways to become more efficient. And so finding what is the highest efficiency strength to brew to get the greater yield. So for us, it was, we can get to, you know, a 10x strength, 10 times, or, you know, 10 to 1, 9 to 1, somewhere in there of water to coffee for, you know, bringing the concentrate back up. But we actually found that 4 to 1 was often where the highest yield was, so that we could avoid passing on a lot of the costs. Now, when we were originally brewing in 30-gallon drums, in a more traditional way, yeah, I mean, we were using like 80 grams for a liter, and it was very ineffective and it was very inefficient. But now we're closer to a throw weight that is more like a drip brewer. So we have a lot of cost efficiencies by brewing at scale. And that's one of the things you just have to figure out, because it really plays into how you roast and whether you can get that kind of efficiency, because there's some roasts that we, you know, sampled other people's coffees through that got insane yields because the coffees were softer, lower grown, roasted with a soft roast. And we just get incredible extractions in very, very short times. And then there would be people with a, you know, a high delta or uneven roast of a high grown Kenya or a Guatemalan. And then, yeah, you need a lot more time and you need to work on the grind, and you have to be focused on the precision of getting that yield. But yes, with traditional methods, you're going to have to use more coffee, or you're going to create, which none of us have mentioned, but that's always one of the key aspects of the innovation, is figuring out how to get the sediment out of the concentrate so that you can have a good product that is more shelf stable, has better flavor, and won't change if you heat it up or mistreat it. So yeah.
Okay, great. Dale, Thomas, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, just, I mean, a very simple kind of calculation is we are using more coffee than we use, you know, per batch or per cup. We're using more coffee than we would compared to filter coffee, but we're using very comparable amounts of coffee that we would for an Americano or an espresso, where a lot of the costings are based on that for our wholesale customers and the businesses we're working with. So that's very comparable, and there's next to no labor cost. So the cost of serving it is actually, what, you know, the margins are better than espresso driven products, but not quite as good as filter driven products for us and for our particular concentrate.
Okay, and then I'll just get on to the last question. Are there requirements for storing the concentrate in terms of refrigeration? Would anyone like to take that?
Well, I can add to that. I think it depends on the scale, obviously. I mean, if we're talking about a retail scenario, there really is just keep the air off of it. So if you can store it and refrigerate it, obviously with flushed with nitrogen, so there's no oxygen to deteriorate it, and filtering is just so important to storage, because if you have sediment, if you have fine particulate, that will deteriorate the product. So removing as much of that either through your brew processes, which is in our brew process, the sediment is removed as a part of the process. But if you don't have that built into your process, then you need to add some filtration, some you know, some kind of cloth or sediment removal, because you really just, it's not going to store for very long. Otherwise, shelf life is a whole other thing where that your mileage varies. I mean, for us, we get really good shelf life by just doing HPP, and we focus on flavor as opposed to traditional shelf life. But no, once you're in concentrate form, the stuff is really much easier to handle than traditional hot brewed and then refrigerated coffee. It tastes better, more consistent, and doesn't deteriorate as quickly.
Okay, perfect. So that brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you all for attending, and thank you so much to Dale, Jamie, and Thomas for all your great insights. You've been terrific. And just before we go, I just want to let you guys know that the webinar is being recorded. So if you want to watch it in your own time or send it on to somebody who wasn't able to watch it, we'll be posting it on our social channels so just keep an eye out for that. Other than that, thanks again for joining, and we hope to see you at the next one. Okay, see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Cheers all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.